All right, so last time we really got into the weeds on a firm's costs, right? Well, today we're putting that knowledge to work. We're going to figure out the big question. How does a firm, especially in a super competitive market, decide exactly how much to produce? And it's all about one thing, maximizing that profit.
So what's on the agenda today? First up, we'll talk about what perfect competition actually means. Then, we'll get to the heart of it, the golden rule for maximizing profit. After that, you'll see how this rule helps us draw out a firm's supply curve. We'll also look at what makes that supply curve shift, and finally, we'll learn how to measure its elasticity. And of course, we'll end with a few questions for you. Ready? Let's jump in.
Okay, let's kick things off with perfect competition ka matlab. To really get a feel for this, I want you to imagine a huge mandi, a massive farmer's market. Just picture it, thousands of farmers, and they're all selling pretty much the same thing, like wheat or potatoes. And you've got thousands of buyers walking around. That chaotic, buzzing scene, that's our perfect starting point.
So in this huge bazaar, let's zoom in on just one farmer, one kisan in this big market. Now ask yourself, can this one person all by themselves actually change the market price for wheat? No way, right? They're just too small. So if they have zero control over the price, how in the world do they figure out how much to grow and sell? That's the big puzzle we're going to solve today.
Well, this kind of market has a special name. We call it perfect competition. And it really boils down to three main characteristics. First, you've got a large number of buyers and sellers. So many that no single person or firm has any real market power. Second, the product is homogeneous. That's just a fancy way of saying it's identical. One farmer's wheat is the same as the next, so you can't try to sell yours for more. And third, there's free entry and exit. This means anyone can decide to start farming and selling, and anyone can decide to pack up and leave. It keeps the market really fluid.
Now, when you put all of those features together, you get to the most crucial feature of all. And if you remember one thing from this section, make it this. The firm is a price taker. What does that mean? It means they have absolutely zero, zilch, nada, power to set the price. They just have to look at the market price for the day and take it. That's the price they get, period.
And this idea of being a price taker has a really clear visual. For that one firm, the price line is just a perfectly flat horizontal line. Think about it. It doesn't matter if they sell 1 bag of wheat or 1,000 bags, they get the exact same price P for every single one. And because of that, the price is also their average revenue, or AR. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you sell everything for the same price, the average you make per item is that price. So remember this key identity. In perfect competition, P equals AR.
Okay, let's move on to our next section, profit maximization, the golden rule. So if the firm is stuck with the market price and can't change it, what can it control? Well, the one thing it can decide is its level of output, how much it's going to produce. And that whole decision is guided by one single powerful goal, making as much profit as possible.
It's pretty straightforward, right? The goal is to maximize profit. The formula for profit is something you've probably seen before. We use the Greek letter pi to represent it, and it's simply your total revenue, that's all the money coming in, minus your total cost, all the money going out. TR minus TC. Simple as that.
So how does a firm actually do that? How does it find that sweet spot of maximum profit? Well, there are 3 conditions that need to be met. Condition 1, and this is the big one, price has to be equal to marginal cost. We'll talk a lot more about that. Condition 2, at that exact level of output, the marginal cost curve must be non-decreasing, so it should be going up or be flat. And condition 3, which is super important in the short run, is that the price has to be greater than or equal to the average variable cost, because if it's not, you're literally losing money on every item you make just by keeping the lights on.
But let's really zero in on that first condition, because it's everything. The firm's profit is maximized at the level of output where price equals marginal cost. This is the golden rule. This is the secret sauce. It tells the firm exactly where to draw the line. Just think about the logic. As long as the price you get for selling one more unit is higher than what it costs you to make that one extra unit, you should totally make it, right? You keep doing that until the very last unit, where the price you get is exactly equal to the cost of making it. That's your stopping point.
All right, next up, the firm's supply curve. Now this P equals MC rule, it's not just some random formula you have to memorize for an exam. It's actually the key that helps us figure out the firm's supply curve. It's pretty cool how it works. Let me show you.
So check this out. The firm's short-run supply curve is actually hiding in plain sight. It's the rising part of the short-run marginal cost curve, but only the part that's above the minimum point of the average variable cost curve. Why? Well, just imagine the market price changing. If the price goes up, the firm will find a new profit-maximizing point where the new, higher price equals its marginal cost, which will be further up its MC curve, so it produces more. That direct relationship between price and the quantity the firm is willing to supply, well, that's literally the definition of a supply curve.
And on this supply curve, there are two really important landmarks you need to know. First is the short-run shutdown point. This is the absolute minimum price the firm can handle. It's the point where the price has fallen so low, it's just barely covering the average variable cost. If the price dips even a tiny bit lower, the firm is better off just shutting down production temporarily. Then you have the break-even point. This is where the price is equal to the minimum average total cost. At this point, the firm is covering all its costs, both variable and fixed. It's not making any extra profit, what we call supernormal profit, but it's not losing money either. It's just breaking even.
Okay, let's talk about the determinants of supply. It's important to remember that a firm's supply curve isn't fixed forever. Things can happen that shift the entire curve, either to the left or to the right. And when it shifts, it means the firm is willing to supply a different amount at every single price. So, what kind of things can cause these shifts? There are a few key factors that can shift the supply curve. Let's look at 3 of them. First, technological progress. Imagine a new invention makes production way more efficient. This lowers the firm's costs, right? So now they're happy to supply more at any given price. That shifts the whole supply curve to the right. The opposite happens with input prices. If the cost of, say, raw materials or labor goes up, production gets more expensive. The firm will supply less at every price, shifting the curve to the left. And finally, think about a unit tax. If the government slaps a tax on every item produced, that effectively increases the marginal cost of production, which also shifts the supply curve to the left. All right, our next section is on price elasticity of supply. We know that when the price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up. But the big question is, by how much? Is it a tiny response or a massive one? To measure that responsiveness, economists use a tool called price elasticity of supply. So what exactly is price elasticity of supply, which we often shorten to ES? Well, it's defined as the percentage change in the quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. It's a number that tells us just how sensitive suppliers are to price changes. Let's make this real with a quick example. Let's talk cricket balls. Say the price is 10 rupees, and at that price, suppliers are making 200 balls. Now, what if the price jumps up to 30 rupees? And let's say suppliers respond by cranking out 1,000 balls. Let's do the math. The percentage change in quantity is a whopping 400%. The percentage change in price was 200%. So we just divide them. 400% divided by 200% gives us an elasticity of 2. Since 2 is a number greater than 1, we say that the supply is elastic, meaning it's very responsive to price changes. You know, there's also a handy visual shortcut for this called the geometric method. If you have a straight line supply curve, you can tell its elasticity just by looking at where it starts. If the line starts from the vertical price axis, the elasticity will be greater than 1. If it starts from the horizontal quantity axis, the elasticity is less than 1. And if it's a straight line that goes right through the origin, the elasticity is exactly equal to 1. It's a neat little trick to remember. All right, we've covered a ton of material today. So for our final section, Aapke liye sawal, I've got a few questions for you to really check your understanding and make sure these concepts sink in. So here are a few questions for you to chew on. First one, how does a technological improvement affect a firm's short-run supply curve? And I want you to try and explain it using those cost curves we talked about. Second question, why is a firm's supply curve in the short run usually steeper than its supply curve in the long run? Think about what a firm can change in the long run versus the short run. And finally, a little math problem. If the price elasticity of supply for a product is 2, what does a 10% increase in its price mean for the quantity supplied? Pause and think about these, and feel free to share your thoughts. So, to wrap up, today was all about zooming in on the decision-making of a single firm in a perfectly competitive world. In our next explainer, we're going to zoom out. We'll see what happens when we bring all these individual firms together to create a market. We'll explore how that market finds its balance or its equilibrium. I hope you'll join me for that. Thanks for tuning in.